Well, good evening, Tuesday at 7 Creatives. I know that folks have been probably waiting for this Tuesday because we're going to have an opportunity to talk with Jimmy Langa and talk about maybe your inspirations behind Kringle, maybe a journey into where you came from at an early age and found those creative aspects. But in the meantime, what we want to do is just give folks the opportunity to kind of connect. And a couple minutes in, remember, oh, you know what? As people are connecting, we'll remember a couple times, everybody who shares will be put into a drawing, and you, Kringle, is offering a...
We're giving away a classic experience for 4 tickets to any of our remaining days of operation to come down and check out the Inventionasium.
Yay!
So tell folks where we're at, because folks are tuning in from all over the place. We have some folks, our farthest viewer is Carol from Singapore, and she jumps in all the time. And so we have people all over the world. But for folks who don't know, where are we at?
Sure. We are in Cleveland, Ohio, the United States, more specifically inside the magical realm of Mr. Kringle's Inventionasium, which is a 10,000 square foot immersive theatrical experience for the holidays. We are right in the heart of downtown Cleveland, right off of Public Square in the old Terminal Tower, Tower City Center facility on level 1.
Gotcha. So down by Tower City. So for everybody who shares, what we're going to do is we'll draw a name this Thursday or Friday, to give them plenty of time to
Thursday. Let's do it Thursday.
We'll draw a name on Thursday. So everybody who shares, you got 48 hours, a little bit over 48 hours to share out. Remember, when you hit the share button, you can share it out to your entire friends group. If you have specific family members you want to share to, you can just share it to a smaller group or a larger group. But we encourage you to share this out if you want the opportunity for a 4-pack, right?
That's right.
For the experience. So we usually start off with just maybe an unexpected question, and this may be unexpected and you may have heard it before.
Okay.
But as folks sign on, remember you can continue, in addition to sharing, remember you can ask questions as well. Hey, do you have your phone with you? Do you have it?
I do, but I turned it off.
Gotcha. I was going to say, what we'll probably want to do is we'll probably want you to share it to, I tagged you, Jimmy Langa, in there. You want to share it to your friends? Well, you want to do that?
Sure.
Go ahead and grab it.
All right, very good.
So, folks, thank you for joining in. I know that over the next couple of weeks we're going to have some great interviewers. And as Jimmy's grabbing his phone, he's going to share out to his friends list as well. I tagged you here, but we want to make sure that they have the opportunity to participate live if they'd like to as well. For those who are joining just now, by sharing, you have the opportunity to win. We're going to pull this Thursday, so if you're going to share, you got to share quick to have the opportunity to for a 4-pack of tickets to the show here at Kringle. I suppose if you're outside of the state, remember you'd have to come into Cleveland for that show. So this might be more of a Northeast Ohio or maybe an Ohio and Eastern Pennsylvania type giveaway. Beth, anybody jumping on?
Barb Miller is on.
Hey, Barb.
Jim Bevins, Jean Nableson, Deborah Sherrill.
Hey, Deb.
Sarah Duarte.
Some other folks jumping in.
Yeah, it's kind of bopping in and out a little bit.
Yeah, remember you can ask questions throughout this interview. And the one thing that kind of captured my attention is because Kringle's been around for a number of years. Do you have a chance to share that out?
All right. Is it going to be tagged to me? Because I've got this one.
Gotcha.
If you do a search for either Roger Miller or Tues at 7, and then you should see the video and you should be able to just share it to your page.
the Tuesday at 7, if you've been watching over the years, we started off, we're very heavy special effects. Over the past couple months, we've been kind of engaging with creatives, and when I kept seeing Kringle pop up over the years, and hearing from some friends who both were on your theatrical staff, I was like, we've got to connect. And so I searched out Jimmy, and he graciously sent Beth and I a couple tickets to come in. We experienced it, and so I've got some great feedback as to what it feels like to be on the customer side of things. But start off with a expected or maybe unexpected question. Do you believe in Santa Claus?
Roger, I never stopped. Santa Claus was always a childhood hero of mine. My family made Christmas very magical for me as a child. My Uncle Joey used to portray Santa, and they would go to great lengths to make the magic as real as possible. I have a family of storytellers, so they would always, spin a yarn. They'd give us Santa scopes to, look out the window, and, he would be coming down the street in the suit. No matter where we were on Christmas Eve, he would always show up, and it was always him. I remember one night I was sick with the flu. I was staying over at my grandparents' house, and it was St. Nicholas Eve, and I remember waking up in the middle of the night and waking all of them up that I had seen St. Nicholas galloping on his white horse, down the street. I mean, to the detail of like the fabric and everything, and it continued, throughout the years, and both my sister and I were just nonstop believers. It was very funny. There was a point in high school where my mother was like, "You guys, it's Uncle Joey, come on," and we still wouldn't give it up, and I still haven't. Needless to say, he also is my boss and signs my checks, so I very much believe in Santa Claus.
There you go. I love that response. What I'll tell you is that I've shared off a couple times the online teaser kind of trailer commercial for what you do here.
Yeah.
And I think that if you've seen that, you get a great feel, both theatrically and magically, kind of what a kid would experience, or what parents, or just what two random adults experienced as we came through. And from, I think, the time that I started to interact with you and your staff, there were the words, the language, the verbiage that folks use feels extremely positive. Is that intentional? Is that just baked into who you bring on into your staff or your cast?
Yes and yes.
Yeah.
It's twofold. It takes a very special performer to be able to wrap their head around everything that this requires creatively, energetically. Our creative director calls this endurance theater, because it very much is, nonstop improv and interaction with families, and having, very intimate moments. There also is the aspect of the rich mythology that we have created over the 13 years, the backgrounds, the stories that we have for all these characters and the world in which they reside, the language that we use, and that's all part of it. We have an ongoing list called the Redictionary that we have for when someone makes up a word. We like to use, splendiferous, or if you were to sneeze, they would say gesundfluffel. And so it's been this really great collaboration between the creators and the performers, and them taking the ball that we give them and running with it, and just creating this very rich tradition that every year we pass on to some returning cast members and alumni cast members to carry it out. And there's always new stories, new words, new ideas about who these characters are, and it's amazing the depths that some of the performers take with the roles that they're given, and they ask amazing questions about, well, could I do this, or would I know that? And that's all kind of part of the magic that we put forth.
Yeah. Do you have roles that are predetermined that you cast, or do you bring on the team members and create your role around them?
It depends on the season. Michael, our conceptual director, has a entire story with roles and characters that he's created.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them came 100% just from him. Some of them were, we have this really talented performer, and he doesn't, fit any of the personas that, we currently have available. And so he would go back and he'd sleep on it for a night, and he'd come back the next day and be like, I've got it. We're going to create Whirly What's It. He's going to be a chef, and he's going to talk like this. And he would kind of cater that character towards the performer's strengths. And then he just kind of becomes part of the canon, and then, the next year, kind of the same thing. If we can fill that role again, great. If a new performer comes along with really great, unique abilities or talents or voices that we've never utilized, then, it's back to the creation board for Michael.
Fantastic. So for those who are just joining, for those who are sharing, we're going to give a 4-pack of tickets.
4-pack of tickets.
Yeah, 4-pack of tickets. Jimmy and his show have graciously donated those to those who share. We're gonna draw on Thursday, right? Also, anybody who has questions, we want to make this interactive so that the folks who are watching can go ahead and shoot some questions off as well, because I'm sure that as we proceed here, that there are going to be some questions.
Kelly Cook is watching, and I'm hoping that means that Alex and Will and Noelle and Emily might be watching also, and that maybe they'll be sharing so that they can win that 4-pack of tickets, because that would just be perfect.
They have 6 in their family, so they'd have to bring 2 more.
Yeah, exactly.
Or and grandparents.
And they could, some grandparents could be doing that too.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back and kind of dig into the show, kind of your inspirations. But if you were to reflect back, and the very first question was, do you believe in Santa Claus? And you went back to some of those childhood memories, and you're like, from your earliest memories, you remember being inspired by the Christmas season. Tell me where the creativity, when you first knew that you're a creative being, and then maybe this could be probably a long response, and then how that kind of came to a Christmas show.
Sure. All right. Well, do you want to specifically how it got to the Christmas show?
Start back at childhood stuff. Say, when I was this age, I was.
Sure. I've been involved in creative projects since 5.
Okay.
Performing for my family at family functions, karaoke, singing. I started in theater as the king in a fairy tale story. at a Curtain Pullers, I think it was called, Cleveland Playhouse, when I was like 5. And I've always loved the theater. I would do, I would make little movies, and I would always solicit the help of, we lived on a cul-de-sac in Broadview Heights, so there were, an entire group of kids that would always be involved in my shenanigans. Oh, we're making a movie, we're building a haunted house in the basement, we're doing a Christmas parade, we're putting on a show, we're going to do a song from the Phantom of the Opera, we're going to make a dark ride in the garage. So it was kind of nonstop. When I was younger, what really got me going was the haunted house in the basement in grade school. We had an unfinished basement with like the raw planks, and so we would make different rooms. We'd take a stapler and staple sheets and create the maze, and then we would have, party lights. I'd go to Halloween Express. I'd use all my lawnmower money and buy, spooky props and spider webs, and I'd solicit the help of my classmates to be the monsters. And we did this for a couple years, and I've always loved haunted houses. And then I was approached by a church, Assumption Church, and they said, we're doing these donut socials, and we're having a hard time getting people to come, and we really want this to be, like an after-mass community building event, and we've heard about your haunted house, and granted this is like, I think, 6th grade, and we wondered if you had any ideas. We have a Christmas donut social coming up. So I was all excited, and I was like, okay, all right. So I went back and I robbed my house of anything I could find. I pulled the blow molds off the lawn, I took down the garland, grabbed that, got my grandma and my uncles and everyone to just throw all their Christmas decorations in the back of their cars, and we decorated the gymnasium for this donut social. We had one of our dear friends play Santa, and we did Polaroids, and we had like a little donation basket out, and it was a success. So with the donations that I got from the collection basket, I waited until after the season was over, and then ran to Sears and bought as many of those tabletop animated dolls that I could find. Yeah. And next year, when they asked me to return, I was ready with multiple tabletop displays and everything else. And that continued through grade school until I was in high school and met my current business partner, Greg Markowitz. And together we took that collection to Moen Faucet Company, who was in need of a Santa display for their breakfast with Santa for their employees, like their employee party. And at the time, his father was one of the engineers from Moen and put us in contact with Human Resources. So we brought our collection, and they were like, "You guys, this is amazing." So we did the Moen Faucet gig for an additional 6 years, and over that span of time, we were contracted by Kirby Vacuums to do their Christmas party at the Renaissance Hotel, all the while reinvesting our earnings and expanding into life-size animatronics and some custom pieces as well. And after that, I went to the theater school at DePaul University in Chicago.
So you left Ohio.
Left Ohio.
You'll go to Chicago.
Go to Chicago for college. We continued to do the decorating gig, and there I met my longtime partner and creative partner, Michael Chappie. And he and I very much wanted to create immersive experiences. We loved the idea of, people walking through, a space and having the story unfold around them and being able to interact with it. And so after we were done with college and after we brainstormed, diaries and diaries of ideas, we said, well, how do we get started? And I said, well, Greg and I have this decorating company. So if we were maybe to merge our Christmas decorations with the idea of our entertainment company, it would be a jumping off point, for our future endeavors. And so we came back to Cleveland, and the very first year we were allowed to install a 3,000 square foot Wonderland in the Tower Press building across from the Plain Dealer. And it was an amazing display that no one saw, because we spent all the money on creating the installation that we never advertised. And so no one saw it except Lolly the Trolley. So they would do their nightly light tours, and they would continuously have trolleys come by, and they couldn't help but notice, because the entire side of the building was glass, this beautiful lit walk through Wonderland. And so the woman finally stopped, pulled the trolley over one night. She knocked on the window and she's like, "Can we come in?" and so I was like, yes, please come in and enjoy it. So she came through, and as the people, were coming in, they were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing." And they kept saying, like, "Boy, this is so much better than what they have going on at Tower City. You should really talk to Tower City. I think it would be a good fit." And I kept hearing that, and so night after night I'd put the donation basket out, and when they would do the Lolly the Trolley tours, they would come in, and more people, and they kept dropping Tower City. Yeah. And so finally I told Greg, I was like, all right, well, we gotta call Tower City, because that's just where everything is leading. So it was right after Christmas, and I called them and I said, "Look, we're going to be taking down this display, but I thought I would call you to see if you'd like to come and, experience it, and see if you would be interested in, having us maybe incorporate this into what you're doing downtown." So we had general manager Lisa Krieger, and at the time it was marketing director Diane Thomas. Both came down, and they signed us up right on the spot to be head of their Santa Claus operations. And in 2000, so this was 2006, very beginning of 2007, they gave us an abandoned Fuddruckers restaurant and said, this is the space. And I was looking at it and go this is amazing. And Greg's going what are we going to do with this? And so from that point on, between Michael and Greg and myself, we started to realize the opportunity that we had just been given, and it kind of just took on a life of its own from there. Our display up until that point had always been traditional German Bavarian Christmas. But as I was looking through catalogs and trying to figure out what we were going to do, Michael kept going, I've got a niece and nephew that are 3 and 5, and they don't know what a toy top is. Who's playing with jacks these days? This just is not. It's it's old. And at first it was hard for me to wrap my head around it, because I was so stuck and raised in traditional Christmas. But I finally got it, and I was like, you're right. And I just started, looking back through photos of Christmas, and really it hasn't been updated since the 1950s. It's sort of just stuck in this forever old-fashioned place, the traditional Coca-Cola Santa Claus, and the deep forest greens and the holiday reds, and it hasn't advanced at all forward as far as aesthetic, or even the image of Santa himself. Yeah. And so that's kind of what started us on this path. We're like, hey, well, we have an opportunity with a clean slate, and we happen to just be in charge of a Santa Claus operation, so what do we do? And we started to go, well, we need to figure out, well, what the new Christmas is going to look like. And at the time, my mom owned an educational store in Parma Heights, Education Avenue. And I called and got her vendor's license number and started calling the New York Toy Fair and getting a list of all the vendors. Because one of the main things was is how do you appeal to the children of today? Like, what toys capture their interest? What would, his niece and nephew, ages 3 and 5, find appealing and interesting? Like, what should we be focusing on from the toy aspect? And so we started to go through the different toy catalogs, and there were a select group of toys that we are very much still working with today. There was the Manhattan Toy Company, which had very original toys, a lot of which were just very whimsical in nature with accents of like black and white. There was a toy company called Zolo Toys, which also was like a modern art Mr. Potato Head, and it was very colorful with accents of black and white. And then as we kept going through toy catalogs, in a book of about 150 pages, maybe you'd find one page that would have a toy that would kind of resemble this sort of aesthetic. And we're like, this is great. If we could make Christmas look like this, like, we're good. So we started then going backwards and saying, okay, well, the black and white will be the floor. And we're going to need all new trees. Now Greg's having a heart attack. because we've got like, 30 to 40 like traditional Christmas trees. Yeah. It's like, you want to do what? And I was like, oh, we're going to buy all new trees. We're gonna need to retile the entire Fuddruckers, and we're gonna paint it all these colors. And it just kind of grew and grew and grew, and unbeknownst to Tower City, we were developing this very Burton, Seussian, whimsical, Disney-esque Santa experience. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of never stopped growing since. And so we opened our doors in 2007, and it was quite a surprise to guests.
and I think that's it's wonderful, because that refresh brings a whole different experience for kids, because they're going to still get the traditional colors, right? Oh, sure. But now they get the whole different experience, and you're creating those lifelong memories for people who will be 50 and 60 years old in a half of a century from now.
Oh, absolutely.
And they're gonna be like, no, these are Christmas colors, right? And Christmas trees are whimsical,
right?
And the Seussian feel and the Burton-esque aspects of the characterization, the personas that they see here are going to be what they remember.
Yeah, it very much gave us a wonderful world to play in, and it's funny, while I was developing the set design, Michael was tasked with the characters, and we knew that we wanted an emphasis on science, and so one day he started just showing me all these sketches, and it was amazing. He had all these lab assistants that worked for Mr. Kringle, and this entire world just started to develop, and it's been 13 years later. We're still in it. We're still developing it. We're still it's never ending, but it's become a very rich tradition, for sure.
So, from any questions that are coming in?
I didn't see any questions. I think everybody's just enjoying
Just
listening
enjoying
to
the
it.
story.
This is a great story.
And I am too. I'm like, oh, am I supposed to be doing something? Paul Tylicki says he has family coming in from Hawaii for the holidays, so he'll have to bring them by to check this out.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a great idea. Dana Jones Crizel says hi, Jimmy Langa.
Hello.
Let's see.
Hi, Dana.
Luke Wayner says Cleveland is sleeping on this man. He is best kept secret status. So everybody is enjoying getting to watch you and to hear your stories and how you created this world.
Let me and feel free, folks, to first of all to share, because there is a 4-pack of tickets that
That's
are
true.
going to be given away to any. We're going to draw a name for everybody who shares. We'll draw one name
On Thursday.
and on Thursday, and if there's 20 people or 50 people who draw that name, your chances might be pretty good as long as they share out.
Right.
But let me tell you a little bit about the experience. And so we're starting to talk a few weeks ago, and you provided us a code, and we went online. All right, and when we went online, it felt very personalized, almost like I could go in and I could pick this or I could do this, and there was some information that that probably prepped your team for our arrival. And talk about that. I mean, that seems intentional, and I kind of enjoyed signing up for my time slot and sharing a little information. Tell us about that.
Sure. So we take our fun very seriously, and so when we take a look at what other companies are doing, or the Santa Claus industry, where that is, in 2007, a lot of the places that we would go and scout, we witnessed, long lines, unhappy children. In fact, the first 2 years that we had this event running, it was a line. And some people were waiting up to 2.5 hours in line to get in here. Well, when you're traveling with children of any age and they have to wait in line, you're going to have meltdowns. You're going to have children getting hungry, needing to go to the bathroom, which then is going to, perpetuate aggravation, within the parent. And by the time they actually get to the experience, to have it begin, they're exhausted or frustrated or upset. And so how could we eliminate this? And, we first started thinking of the restaurant system. Okay, great. We're gonna just tell people to check in, and we're going to give them a little buzzer, and then they could shop at Tower City or ride the train, and then it would buzz, and then they would know to return. The problem with that is the buzzers only last like the distance. What if they went to the food court, which is on the complete opposite end of the mall? The length wouldn't reach, and so we might have people that would miss their time or not show back up. And so one day I went out there with a notebook, and I just started to write times down. And it was a very stressful day, because as people would, as they would come to me and they would say, hi, we're here to see him, I've got 5 kids, I'd say, great, you're going to come back at 1 o'clock. And they would be like, oh, okay. And then they would disappear. And then, another family would come, and I'd be like, okay, you're going to be 1:15, and some people were upset, but I'm here now, and no one is in this line. And I was like, well, that's because there's an invisible line ahead of you, and this is what we're doing. And so I was just doing this on a notebook and scratching off names as they would come back. And I was like, this is great. This is kind of working. It just, if there was a way to put this in a system, like, we'd be all set. So then we started to research, booking softwares and things of that nature, and we've gone through 3 different companies, but we finally partnered with the perfect fit, the smartest system that I've been able to find, and the capabilities are beyond anything that you would even want, and they even were able to do custom tweaks to make it work how we'd like. But we rolled out this system for reservation, and we, given the automated nature of the event, we knew the increments for which we would have reservations available, and we started to put them all online. And it was amazing. There, all of a sudden, you have families showing up with the children that aren't upset, that aren't having a meltdown. They check in with us 15, maybe they're waiting a total of 10, 15 minutes, and then they go right in exactly at 1 o'clock or 1:15 or whatever the time that they chose. And then over the years, we continued to develop this and fine-tune this, and so now we offer 3 different experience packages. Each one kind of builds on the package before it. We have a classic experience, a deluxe experience, and a VIP experience. So when you are making a reservation, you could choose, all of them are pretty much inclusive of, including a photo, the Inventatoy activity, which is the main event inside, a private visit with Mr. Kringle, which separates us from other places as well, because it's literally just the family and Mr. Kringle in an enclosed space with the photographer, and it's a very intimate. Rarely do we have crying children because it's quiet. You can get those really soft, intimate moments between Mr. Kringle and the family, and it can be very soft spoken and very gentle, and we've had much success with that. So we have these 3 packages. And so you can, book your day, you could book your time, and then afterwards you can kind of a la carte anything else that you'd like to add. If you want to add a takeaway treat, which is a category that we have where, you could pick a confection anywhere from a marshmallow pop, cookie pop, brownie pop, as a supplemental treat to take upon departure. Or there's, add-on photographs or special gift options, and the deluxe experience does have a personalized factor to it. You can actually submit information about the children, and Mr. Kringle would then use that information to pepper in to the visits, which make it phenomenal. Absolutely.
Personalized, memorable.
Oh yeah, this is great for kids that are on the fence, because all of a sudden, we've now extended that age of believing for another 2 years. We'll see that family back until he's 10 or sometimes 12 years old.
Does
that answer your question?
Yeah, but
Okay.
in terms of the experiential shows, it's always been wait in line, right? And even if there were some timed tickets, there wasn't that personalized aspect of it. And I think that what you've done is amazing, because you didn't follow a playbook, because there didn't really seem to be one, and so you
there is no playbook for this.
There's no playbook for what you've done, and so it's not you're following a path that was blazed by someone else. It's like you blazed your own trail and said, let's do this, and you've created a look and a feel and a name and a memory for folks who come through. Got any I don't want to say I'm at a loss of words, because I'm not at a loss of words, but I'm just kind of resting in that creativity, because it's what you do here is really amazing. Do you call? So there is a picture with the families or the children with who?
Mr. Kringle.
Mr. Kringle. You don't call him Santa Claus. It's Mr. Kringle because he's a different person, or?
So I'll give you 2 answers. Yeah. The first one is the simplest one is, in our mythology, we view Santa Claus as a position, like the presidency, and so Mr. Kringle is the current Santa Claus, and has been since the late 1800s. The business answer for why we did what we did is twofold. One is because we wanted to differentiate ourselves from everyone else that had Santa Claus, and that was primarily because, as I said earlier, Santa Claus was a childhood hero, and as I grew up, I was extremely concerned and disheartened by the way that this symbol was being abused by corporate America, by just other people, dressing up in a Santa suit and going to a bar, without any regard for what kind of message that this was sending the children. And I thought, there are movies that, are contradictory, there are images that conflict, and I mean, quite honestly, I think the current perception of Santa Claus is a sad state of affairs. So the idea is how, can we rise above that? And we thought, if we can create a new image that we can control, and one that might restore that integrity to the cultural icon, we'd be better for it. And so Kris Kringle has always been synonymous with Santa Claus, but it too was subject to public domain. So Mr. Kringle was the answer. So we trademarked Mr. Kringle, Mrs. Kringle, our look for Mr. Kringle, and protected him in such a way from, the corporate America and the, all of that, so that we can actually make sure that he stays wholesome and what he represents remains true and can be something that the children can look to and, admire and, be able to look at in a positive light that hasn't been soured, by the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm so, I have chills. That makes me so happy, because whether it's the creepy mall Santa or Coca-Cola or whatever it is, there's no, you have to work really, really hard for the kids to be able to just see something and not immediately be distracted by the 12 other reflections of the exact same thing that they're seeing.
Oh, sure. And then you've got, and God bless them, because it's such a great movie, the Santa Claus, but, or the one with Kurt Russell, but now you've got kids thinking that Santa's like a celebrity.
Yep.
That, Tim Allen is Santa or Kurt Russell is Santa.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you mad?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Or, and sometimes, I mean, God bless the parents, but sometimes, like, they'll take him to, Great Northern Mall one day, and then they'll take him to Parmatown Mall another day, and then they'll take him to a breakfast over at Lake Farm Park another day. And I was like, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's just me. Maybe I take it too serious.
No,
I don't know. But like,
I'm
if you're trying to like really create an authentic experience, like you gotta be smarter than that. And I'm even talking about like the movie makers. Like they've hit this wall where it's literally just let's just keep. All right, now it's, Santa, but the workshop is kind of run military style, and that's how we're going to show the technical advances. Or, okay, now it's a celebrity, or now it's, and it's just like, it's maddening and so disappointing. And, we didn't want anything to do with that. And we're like, how can we bring the magic back to Santa and save him in a sense? And so we created Mr. Kringle and said he's the current Santa. So we still, can associate and connect the dots for the kids, like, that the big jolly man, great, this is him, this is the man behind the suit, this is the authentic article, the actual toy maker himself, and you get to meet him in his natural crazy habitat, in his workshop attire, and you get to have that intimate moment with the man.
And the authenticity of his of Mr. Kringle's look is phenomenal. but his costuming is not the traditional Santa either. That's my recollection, and I love the look.
Thank you. And I honestly can't take credit for it.
Okay. Somebody deserves some credit. 'Cause
That's
excellent.
That was Michael. Michael.
Bravo. It's great work.
It took us 2 years to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
When we decided that, and it was so funny, we told Tower City in 2007, we're like, okay, so we're going to call him Mr. Kringle. We're not going to call him Santa Claus. And they're like, oh, okay. And and Michael went to work on it, and he came back with, I mean, he had, drawings of, crazy glasses with the steampunk lenses, and lab coats, and curl-toed shoes, and black and red and crazy colors, and some with overalls, and I mean, the options were endless. And finally, he narrowed it in on the overalls, the red and white striped leggings, the curl-toed shoes. But even year one, he had a multicolored button-down underneath the overall. And we got so many complaints from guests about the clown-like appearance of Mr. Kringle. And literally, it was just the smallest switch from his multicolored design to the red and white stripes that now just made it this signature look, which like everyone knows and loves. And it's such a great look. And it's so funny because it really took about 10 years for it to catch on. We got a lot of pushback in year one from folks that had been coming to a traditional experience. Now, all of a sudden, what is this polka-dotted reindeers and, honking sound effects, and the clown Santa, and, excuse me, Mr. Kringle, PC, ruining my tradition, it was a lot. And so, you saw in the numbers a decrease from, year one to year two. But man, the folks that did come in year two, it's like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. They were coming in like crazy hats and wild Christmas sweaters and outfits. Like they were ready for the crazy and the whimsical and the wacky. And we refined the outfit, and now after 13 years, people want the overalls. They want the green. They want the authentic. They want the real article, because and we've got people coming from out of state to experience him and to have that opportunity.
I was going to say, and I think the reason that it works is because the sincerity behind it. You weren't just trying to create just some wackadoodle Santa just because you didn't like the original. You were trying to retain Santa and to perfect it. And I would imagine that every year that went by as that was happening, as you were creating that new look, the intention behind it just shone through. And so that's one of the reasons that you were able to perfect it, is because your intentions were pure. This wasn't just, I just want to make a buck off these kids and, bring them in and buy my stuff. It was, no, I'm creating, well, not just you, but your whole team were creating something with longevity and with purpose. And so the creative aspects behind the intent, you have to listen to the audiences somewhat, but you accomplished what you were wanting to accomplish, and that's why you're still here 13 years later, and why people are loving it so much. I mean, we've got, let's see, you guys have the best Santas around. Where do you find your Kringles?
It's a struggle. There are 9, and it's challenging. But believe it or not, there are a lot of Santa Claus organizations. Ohio Buckeye Santas is one. There's a lot of great talent. I mean, Cleveland's got an amazing theater community, and there's a lot of fellas that are part of that community. Jack, I don't want to say their names.
Yeah. Jack Frost.
Jack Frost. But thank you for that. We really try hard. When every year when we have to employ a new one, most of them have, some of them have been with us for 12 to 13 years. Usually when we find them, they stick with it because this is something that they can't get in a mall. This is something they can't get anywhere else. They enjoy the private one-on-one. They enjoy what they do, and they're with us for years. When we do employ new folk, it's a rigorous process because they need to it's different than a traditional Santa in that I think Mr. Kringle's cooler, and so they have to have this sense of humor and a sense of wonder, and a sense of just mystery, kind of all in one. And so another thing that sets us apart is the fact that they're so flexible, and they can be intimate, but then they also can be, putting on the dad's Indians baseball cap and putting their Santa hat on the dad, and having the mom sit in the chair while Kringle's on the floor, and the kids wearing the coat, because we do keep the traditional coat hanging up in the office.
I noticed that.
Yeah. So we get a lot of fun. Yeah. We get a lot of fun stuff with that. The guys came up with this great bit about that it has magical healing powers, and so if you get a kid who is feeling apprehensive or is nervous, like they'll tell them the tale of the coat, and then they'll put the coat on him, and the kid will actually just start to calm down. Also, the color red in and of itself can be kind of jarring. And so the green is just a lot more aesthetically pleasing. It's you are more drawn to it, and you feel less anxious with the green.
Any other questions? I mean, Beth, as they come up, throw them out.
Barb says we should all look for the crazy. It's great for the kids' imaginations. And I do not disagree with that. Heather Hayden says this is the best place. The acting is fabulous. The Santa is amazing. That's it so far. I think, again, everybody's listening.
I'm going to ask, I'm going to zig for a couple minutes because it's, and then I want to come back to the spirit of where you're at.
Sure.
Because, I mean, I think at the origin and at the ending of it all, it's the spirit of what you're doing, and I think it's why you've been around for such a long time, and it's the reason why the spirit of your show will stretch beyond Tower City in a very short period of time, my prediction. But the business aspect of it,
sure.
You're moving a whole lot of people through here, and one of the things that you had mentioned, which I just thought was incredibly interesting, is you're like, over the years that you would find you have a bunch of kids, it's December and people have colds, and you're like, okay, so if we have to move through a whole bunch of people, families, and we have to keep our folks healthy, you're like, you had a plan. To tell us about it, because when you think of shows like this, I mean, we're thinking the magic, but the behind the scenes creativity that you're doing is kind of cool too.
Yeah, that's a reality show in
and of itself. That's a whole other episode of this interview.
So it's funny. One of the things that we have always struggled with over the because of the nonstop, families that come through, and
on a Saturday, what time does your first kid come through, and what's the very last slot?
Saturday is pretty much a 12-hour day. We open at 9 in the morning, and the last tour goes in at 8, so they finish up around 9 o'clock.
So 12 hours of nonstop
families.
Okay.
Yep. And so it's so funny you want to talk about the germ fogger.
Yeah.
So we would always have, for years, like, it would start, we would Lysol and Clorox, wipe the tables and stuff, but that wasn't good enough. We would find that, our actors would be out for the count, and all of a sudden, like on a busy Saturday, you'd have 4 calling off, 5 calling off, and what are you going to do? Now, all of a sudden, the people that are left got to pull double duty. Some might get late lunches, and, it just kind of becomes chaos. You're calling people, that to come in, and it can become a nightmare if you don't have the people to man it how it needs to be run. And so, I was telling Greg, I was like, they have these tick bombs or flea bombs where you just, lock your house up and you let it do its thing for an hour, and then you come back in and it's killed everything. I was like, don't they have like a human germ bomb somewhere? So I started doing these Google searches, and sure enough, there is a hospital grade germ fogger that we now get in cases. And at the end of the operational week, we will go room to room to room and bomb the rooms with this neutralizing germ fogger, which kills, any airborne bacterias, viruses, and it's like 99.6% effective.
Right, yeah.
And so we've noticed that since we've started, germ bombing, that that there hasn't been such a decline in the health of our performers. So, like, it's so funny. It's like, I don't know how we would go without it. Like now.
Yeah.
So it's something that we do every week.
And I would imagine it's quite a operation to move families through your show to Kringles. How many Kringles do you have at any one time?
So we have 4 offices right now, and it was like one of the best things we started doing was attending Transworld Haunt Show 4 years ago, and it's been great. It's because now I'm, it's been a lot of paving the way, but then I'm also seeing a lot of crossover, a lot of similarities in things that I can go, oh, that's a really good idea. Or, oh my gosh, I didn't even know this existed. And one of them was the cameras, and I was like, this is amazing. So now we have cameras in all of the rooms, and in the Kringle offices, and we're able to actually like monitor the visits, and because everything runs by reservation, we know the order in which they're going through, which is so funny, because if people only knew how detailed this actually is, but you really can't explain it to the guests, right, because it's so complicated. But like the order in which your reservation is made is so important. It's like our show script. When you're running a show, the stage manager's reading the script and needs to make sure that like we're following the script, because the whole show goes around the script. Well, the reservation system is the script. The list of families that are coming through is the show script, and so we're watching these families go through in this particular order. So by the time they get around to where Mr. Kringle is, we know who to expect. We know it's the Millers and Party of 2, and they're going to go see this particular Kringle, and so we have that dispatch unit that's looking at all the different cameras. Everything that's going on is saying, okay, this family is going into this office. This family has this many people. They're going to go into our second largest office. This family has to wait because they have 16 people. We need the largest office for this. This family bought the deluxe, so Kringle's learning the information right now. So they're going to go in. They're going to be the next deluxe, but they're going into office 3. And so like there's this entire ballet dance going on behind the scenes, you know, and then you've got the guests going like, but I want to go together with this family. It's like, no, like we've already orchestrated all of this. Like, and then, you know, when they do, and then error occurs, then all of a sudden, like, you know, it's like, you see, like if only you would know, like this is all intentional. Like, and you'd think with reservations, you know, that like, because our reservation numbers are really kind of funny. Like we have like a 106 tour and like a 112 tour. And you'd think that by how specific the tour times are, that, you know, there's something at work here. But, you know, you can't convey all that, you know, to the audience. And so, you know, it is what it is. But it really is a operational dance. You know, trying to keep all the families in order, you know, or if a family decides that they missed the reservation and they need to move to a later time, then we got to rerun our show scripts and constantly be refreshing our, you know, reports to make sure everyone ends up where they need to be. So it's really interesting. I love it. Like, I love the puzzle. I love the dance. You know, I like the mechanics of it. Very much, you know, and thank God, you know, the Haunt Show has all this really great technology that, you know, is you know, that's applicable to what we're doing. Like, so many great stuff came from there. The cameras and that whole dispatch system, I mean, it's changed everything.
Yeah, I noticed even some of the, like the lighting cues, and even there appeared, and maybe I'm reading more, but it appeared that there were some sound cues.
Yeah.
That the improv actors who were stationed in different areas would probably know, oh, time to move them. Yeah. And they did a great job, not only by calling us by name, but also by, I mean, it felt fluid, and your business sense of blazing that trail of saying, how do we create Kringle and this experience here? And I'm not going to ask any questions because about the magic that happens in here, because we don't want to spoil it for the families and the kids that are out there. But if you see, and right now I know that these advertisements are finding their way to my Facebook page. I think maybe Instagram. Are they out on Instagram as well?
No, just Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah,
that's probably where parents are at.
Yeah.
Yes. The old people are on Facebook.
Yeah, we're trying to get more into Instagram. We've got the account.
Yeah.
We haven't done anything. We're terrible.
Well, but I tell you what. I mean,
it's work.
I think
it's work to manage social media.
It is.
Is it more grandparents or parents that, or what would be your guess? People who are bringing kids through here.
Mostly it's the mom.
Okay.
But it's either the mom or it's the grandma that wants to do like the treat. Like, I want my kids and my grandkids to, we're all going on this together. It's going to be the family thing, you know, and, you know, we'll get, I mean, this is a annual tradition for a lot of families, and it's amazing to see the kids, you know, grow up and come through here. And now it's because it's been 13 years, we're starting to see folks that remembered it when they were 3. They're now, you know, 16, and, you know, coming through again, you know, with their younger siblings, you know. So it's a really rewarding business. It's also a very tricky business in that it's so emotionally driven. You know, I mean, if you think about it, and like, we take it so seriously, but like, you know, people are trusting us, you know, with getting this right. You know, people are trusting us that we're going to provide this amazing experience. They put their kids' beliefs, you know, in our hands, and that's not something that you take lightly, you know. So all of the actors learning the mythology, all of the Kringles, you know, working together with the performers and with each other to you know, problem solve and to share, you know, experiences. You know, it very much is an emotional business, and you know, when we get it right, it's the most rewarding thing, you know. But you know, we have hundreds of families coming through a day, and sometimes you don't get it right. You know, sometimes you call, you know, Sally Susan. Sometimes, you know, the tech fails and you got nothing for that family, or you lose the order, or something goes amiss, and you know, you have to just persevere. You have to just keep going, you know. But you also, you know, if there's one thing that I'm really proud of, it's the customer service that goes with that, because we understand that it's emotional. Like if something goes wrong, like it could be detrimental to a kid's belief, you know. Like if they were to come through here and all of a sudden, like, someone break through one of the fake walls and all of a sudden there's like two guys there, like, how horrifying. Like, we just did that, you know. So luckily that really hasn't happened, but you know, we always try to think of the worst case scenario and plan, all right, how can we avoid this from being a thing? Or are the photographers being too loud? Or you know, where do we need more murmuring so that, you know, the secret isn't blown? And so it's a lot of that, but trying to learn how to navigate around, you know, the emotion. You know, some days you're sold out, and the family came from Toledo, you know, and I mean, you know, we've in the past we've learned you could try to shoehorn them, but that creates nothing but sadness, because you're wedging them in where they don't belong. So the likelihood of error is almost guaranteed. You know, and so then you end up ruining it for the people that weren't late, that, you know, that made their reservation in advance. And so, like, it's tough, but you really do have to put your foot down somewhere, you know. But we really try to go above and beyond with the customer service, and you know, understand that this is an emotional game. You know, we're in a very emotional business.
Yeah. If there's any questions, we're probably kind of wrapping up, because this has been, I mean, we're already an hour in.
Really?
I'm
having a great
time.
No.
I'm having a great time too. I mean, and it's wonderful. And it's wonderful. And thanks for sharing your journey from your childhood to current, your current show, and carrying on the spirit of Christmas and Kringle as well. And I want to get back to a few things, but before we go there, get back to the spirit of things. But before we go there, I mean, there's folks out there that are saying, how do we learn more? If you're from Northeast Ohio, or you're within a few hours of Cleveland, how do people learn more about this experience?
Sure. You could visit our website, mrkringle.com, mrkringle.com. There's a little bit about the experience on the Experience tab. There's information about our characters and their backstories. There's our Plan Your Visit page, which tells you everything you need to know, from dates of operation, times, explains a little bit about parking and everything that you would need to set you up for success for a visit. And then the Tickets tab, which you can push, and then it'll give you the different options for the experiences, and you can just book any day and time that works best for your family.
And for those folks who are joining, we're talking with Jimmy Langa, and I would imagine that your expertise and, you know, it would be in high demand too, because you've really created you really blazed a trail that's unique and such. So, Jimmy Langa, and when you see what's occurred here, and this is a permanent location down here, and it feels as though the Kringle look, feel, brand is kind of moving out. Where do you see things moving for you? Are you going to be in? Are you in this location permanently? Are you going to find yourself? Are there Kringle opportunities elsewhere?
So it's really interesting. We've been in the same location for 13 years. I think we've perfected this prototype as far as we possibly can, and we're all kind of in a excited place in our lives to share this special brand of joy with the rest of the world. It's the ultimate goal is to have it be a worldwide brand, and to have Mr. Kringle be the new image of Santa Claus, and to have him be welcomed into the homes of families globally. We are very excited, and we've been putting together floor plans for other locations. We're also, even within Cleveland, expanding the brand in very creative ways. We have a really wonderful partnership with the Hilton Cleveland downtown. This is our second year with them, and they get it. They get the magic, they get the excitement, they get what we're doing, and we've created such an amazing partnership. Their marketing director reached out, and this is something that we've been trying to do for many years, and finally the Hilton was built in, I think, 2016, and she reached out to us, and she's like, we want to partner. And so we created a Mr. Kringle suite for them.
I love it.
We created Mr. Kringle suite.
I want to stay in it.
And it's beautiful. And it's got 2 Christmas trees. We brought in new furniture and ottoman that are whimsically themed, new carpets, new beddings and linens. There's milk and cookies that are delivered to the room, and there's a note from Mr. Kringle. They did naughty and nice bathrobes for the adults and the kids, and there's Christmas movies and curated movies and books that kind of re-emphasize our take on Christmas, and so there's that with them. They also had us decorate their entire hotel. So now we're the decorating company for the Hilton. We are rolling out an amazing spread of holiday decorations. This is part 1, and then next year is the other half. But the lobby looks amazing, and we're really excited to continue decking it out. We also are doing a breakfast with Mr. Kringle event, so completely separate from the Inventionasium, but that's a sold out as of this morning, sold out on the 14th and 15th of December at their Burnham restaurant on level 2. They got a great breakfast spread. The food is amazing. They've got like a bacon and ham like carving station and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it's very lavish, very Kringle. And so we're very excited for that partnership. Been in talks with the folks on Public Square that run the ice skating rink, just opportunities for getting some characters out on the ice. And I always thought when we first started this that Cleveland could have something amazing, because Mr. Kringle is a proprietary entity, and it's been very frustrating, I'll be honest with you, that the powers that be can't grasp it, or that aren't willing to help me get it there, and so like I continue to knock on doors, I continue to do the best that I can with the creative power and influence that I have. But I feel like this brand could be doing so much more for the city, with partnerships, and it's begun. Like I feel like the Hilton partnership and the partnership with Public Square. I mean, these are all steps forward, but it's been one bureaucratic journey for 13 years. Let me tell you, to get to here. And I'm hoping that within Cleveland it will continue to grow and become this nationwide tourist destination if we can continue to spread the brand out and incorporate it into Winterfest, into other areas and events and venues and pop-up things, and
even if it's just the continuity.
Exactly.
That the same feel. It doesn't mean that every single thing has to be Kringle decorated.
Correct.
But just knowing that throughout Cleveland, you're going to see a continuity of the holiday spirit in certain corners.
Absolutely.
Is going to create a more complex but unified picture in Cleveland during this time of year. And yeah, Cleveland's a hard sell. Once they get it,
it's so tough.
But it just makes sense, and that doesn't mean that they can't have the Higbee's stuff over here, and they can't have this over here, and the Jack can be doing whatever it's doing. But knowing that there's, similar to Playhouse Square, knowing that there's just going to be these certain sections that are going to have this feel around the holidays, and that it's going to not match because it doesn't have to be perfectly symmetrical, but that it's going to flow, and that Cleveland is going to, that the city has that opportunity. Yeah, you would think somebody would be like, oh, yeah.
I mean, the mythology is so rich, that there's so many other, Mrs. Kringle is, she's a gardener, she's a botanist in our world, because she is an angel, and she cultivates life, and that's why she is in charge of all the evergreens and the pines and the holly and the poinsettias and all that stuff. Even having a partnership with the botanical gardens.
I was just gonna say,
creating a Mrs. Kringle experience with the flowers in the gardens, and having that be her home. There's so many really great ways to cross, and have passport tickets with Lolly the Trolley, taking people from Tower City down to the Botanical Gardens and stamping their passport ticket, and going past a public square that's decorated to the nines, that supports this fantasy world that it could be. And maybe I'm just dreaming too big. I don't really know. Well, but I see this just being this huge Cleveland phenomenon, and I'm excited for the Hilton. I thank everyone, Tanya, Terry, Andrea, everyone that's there, just for believing in us and trusting us, because they give us carte blanche to just decorate their facility. And they said, oh, let's do a suite. They didn't say it needs to look like this. They just trusted that we would do a good job. And I'm so grateful for that. And they let us, and the suite sold out. Past you could stay there the 2nd through the 12th of January. Other than that, it's gone. Breakfast is gone. They're loving it. They're loving it, and it's really working out.
So if you have any questions, we're going to give just a few minutes to shoot those out.
Great.
Something tells me that we've got this great creative network through Tuesday at 7, and that somebody can share this video to influencers that would say, oh, who needs to see this? It needs to be this influencer, or this creative mind, or these folks that could help spread the Kringle cheer and the Kringle brand. But so an important question is, how long does it take your Santas to grow their beards? I'm just wondering. I mean, is it like a 3-year process? Because some people just can't grow a Santa beard.
Some of the guys just have them.
They just have them.
Just year round have them. There's one that has the tradition. In the back room, he'll bring his razor. Last shift of the day. It's been a 12-year thing, and he'll right in the bag, and he'll go home with a clean face for Christmas.
Gotcha.
And then he starts growing it back in the spring, and he's ready to rock in November.
Yeah, I know that there's 1,000 questions that could even just pop to my mind to shoot out, because this has been a wonderful interview.
This
it's been
went
a great
so
experience.
Fast.
I know.
It'd like more time.
It just flies by. I know that there's folks that are jumping on, joining, that I've seen bits and portions. We're talking with Jimmy Langa and Kringle's. So Kringle's Inventionasium experience.
Correct.
And give us, you described it at the very beginning. When people say, what is it that you do? How would you describe this show?
Kringle's Inventionasium is the secret inventing lab of Mr. Kringle. It is a immersive theatrical experience where families engage in hands-on activities and help Kringle's wacky team prepare for the holiday season. That concludes with a private visit with Mr. Kringle himself at the end.
Fantastic. I know that on a few occasions I've heard you say, we thank people for believing in you. What I would say as Beth and I were down here, as we had a chance to sit and interact with Mr. Kringle, we got a button that says, Mr. Kringle believes in me.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great message. I mean, that's profound.
That's
any insight into that? As you kind of wrap things up.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's about. You know, it's about empowering the kids. You know, the whole idea of the Inventionasium, and it's supposed to be this magical place where anything is possible. You know, so many children today, you know, are stifled by, you know, other adults that have chosen to no longer pursue a magical way of thinking. And, you know, if there could be a safe haven, you know, where that is just silenced for 60 minutes, and our characters are okay with being like, oh no, he's doing great, you know, like, you keep going, you know, they'll tell the parents to, you know, in the best character voice possible, you know, to let the kid build the toy the way he wants to build the toy. It is about encouragement, positive reinforcement. I mean, the stories, the yarns that are just, that, you know, the moments that come out of these kids, like, I mean, and some kids, like, you ask them what they want for Christmas, and, you know, it's you know, I need a friend, or I need my mommy to come back, you know, like, I mean, it's profound. And so, like, we build that into the training of the performers to be able to prepare for that, you know, and, you know, above all, to listen, you know. And one of the best things, you know, a lot of the characters are like, well, what do we say, you know, when that happens? And, you know, Corey will always say, you know, don't say anything. You know, sometimes just being able to let the kid feel like someone is truly listening is really all that they need. And so, you know, you'll have those moments, but if we could build them up, you know, then we will. You know, part of the whole thing about the Inventionasium is it is an emphasis on science, you know, and that was intentional. You know, telling kids, you know, well, how does this happen? Oh, it happens by magic. That doesn't cut the mustard anymore. It just doesn't. So, you know, there's so many magical phenomenon going on in the world of science, you know, and so if we can give children plausible answers to their questions, it's going to strengthen their belief in Mr. Kringle as well as the intelligence of the child. So that's what it's about, like empowering kids, you know, use your imaginations, you know, create, you know, the message that, you know, there's always a secret message from the elves, and it's always something that deals with, like, this year it's the secret ingredient to holiday magic is you. You know, it's always about getting people to understand that, you know, anything is possible, and, you know, encouragement's the key, creativity is the way, and, like, your heart is the compass, and your inner you will point to the destiny, you know, if you're just able to listen to your own bliss. And so, like, anything's really possible, and that's the message that we're just trying to convey. And so this year specifically, our marketing director was like, you know, we need to get this message out. You know, and so many of the Santa Claus traditions are about, like, believe in Santa, believe in Santa, believe in Santa. Okay, why? I think it's more important that Santa believe in the child. So that was, like, perfect. So we created these buttons that says Mr. Kringle believes in me, and we decided to have that be how he end each visit, which is, and don't forget, whenever you're feeling doubtful, whenever you need counsel, just remember, that I always believe in you, and then he gives them the button, and that's the visit.
Yeah. I don't know how you could end a visit or an interview on a better note than that. That's phenomenal. We thank you for sharing your show, your journey, your 13 years of hard work. We're confident to entrust our kids' belief in Mr. Kringle to you as well. Again, thank you your staff. They're amazing. When Beth and I were here, it was personal. We enjoyed our conversation. We love our photo with Mr. Kringle. There was some great improv going on as well. We love the toy building. We love the science behind it as well. And for those folks that are interested in an experience to bring your kids to, you better sign up, because I imagine it's going to be, those tickets are going fast. Again, for those who share this out, we are going to draw a set of tickets for a family of 4 on Thursday. So you got to share quickly to be part of that. Drawing. We'll draw one name out on Thursday. And for those of you, jump on MrKringle.com and the vision of Jimmy Langa and his great team. We thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Thank you for watching.